If you're a kiteboarder, chances are you looked up at the birds soaring the coastline and thought, that looks fun. Well, what if I told you that with the skills you already have, you're halfway to doing just that?
This is flaring, also known as parakiting. And as a kiteboarder, this will be surprisingly familiar. But before you strap a wing to your back and just go and run off a dune, there are a couple of key things that you should know. Because even though the transition might feel natural, these are two different sports and they should be treated with respect.
Let's start with what makes it so approachable for kiters. Wind awareness, you've got that. Kite control, you've got that too. Even understanding how power builds and how to manage it, most of that carries over. In fact, the brake toggles on a parakite do something very similar to what your bar does. Hands up, less power. Hands down, more power. Sounds familiar, right? And just like with a kite, you can steer the glider around in the wind window. You can keep it at 12 o'clock, move it over to 45 degrees, and you can even make it touch the ground. The only big difference is that when you're facing the glider, you're turned around. So left is right and right is left. That takes a moment to get used to. When flying, you need to actively control the glider. And this is mostly done with the brake toggles. If I pull my hands down, the glider will fly slower with minimal vertical descent. Perfect to get up a dune. If I push my hands up, the glider will accelerate forward and start diving. This builds up energy, which we can then use to go ski on the ground, throw some turns, or just chill around. Pull your hands back down, and up we go, back up the dune. Most of the time, you'll be flying with your hands somewhere in the middle, around the best trim label. That's where you get solid control and the best glide. Let's zoom out for a second and talk about the magic that makes flaring possible. When wind hits an object, like a dune or a cliff, it doesn't just stop, it gets deflected upward, forming a rising column of air. That rising air is what we call lift, and if you're positioned right, it's what keeps you flying. You have to stop seeing wind as something that just moves parallel to the water. With terrain in play, wind can go up and also down. Understanding this takes time, and you don't want to find yourself on the wrong side of a dune or a mountain where the wind becomes unstable and unpredictable. Obstacles can also create compression zones, where the wind is forced between or over features. This accelerates the wind, which means you could get stuck in the compression. Or worse, get pushed backwards if your glider can't fly fast enough. These Venturi effects are common at the tops of dunes or where there's a gap in between them. And let's look at what sets these sports apart. In kiteboarding, if you crash, you usually bounce and try again. But in parakiting, coming down hard on rocks, sand or dunes can have serious consequences. One thing that really surprised me at the start, there is no quick release. When the wind picks up and the glider starts pulling you around, your instincts might be to eject. But then you realize, 99% of the time, a release would mean free falling. So it makes sense that they left it out. And stalling, that's very real and a big backbreaker. The brake toggles don't have a stopper. If you pull them too far, the glider stops flying. On the ground, that's how you kill the wing and pack it away. In the air, that's how you come down hard. In most countries, paragliding and parakiting falls under aviation law. That means you need a license and insurance. You're considered air traffic, so check your local regulations before taking off. Let's talk gear. The moustache from Flare comes in different sizes, from 13 to 26 square meters. You pick a size depending on your weight and the wind strength that you want to fly in. For kiters just getting into the sport, I would recommend starting with an 18, 22 or 26. Why? Because they're slower and more forgiving. They give you time to correct mistakes instead of forcing you to react instantly at 60 kilometers an hour. Don't get tempted by the smaller wings. Sure, they're fast and agile, but that's exactly what makes them dangerous for beginners. Your first flight should always be with an instructor, not just for your safety, but because judging conditions is one of the hardest parts of flying. The ideal beginner spot is a sandy beach with smooth onshore winds and gentle dunes. This creates a reliable lift band and a soft surface for landing. But keep in mind, many dunes are protected. Don't hike up where you're not allowed because flying illegally can get spots closed down. Avoid locations where the wind crosses over land before it hits the dune or a mountain, because that can increase the chance of turbulent air and strong thermals, both of which can collapse your glider. Over time, you'll start to develop a better understanding of when to fly and when to walk away. The biggest danger in this sport is overconfidence. Going for it without thinking. You're dealing with an invisible force that can become very strong and very turbulent. And trust me, getting blown over the back of a dune is a hard way to learn that the wind behind an object turns chaotic and can collapse your glider while you're still flying. That's why lessons matter. Even after 6 years of flying, I'm still learning. Every flight is different, every location is unique. So, connect with instructors, talk with other pilots, and learn how to read the sky while you carefully explore it. If you want to dive deeper into the world of parakiting, Flare has a great video series that covers all kinds of topics. The Flare Academy walks you through the sport step by step and is an excellent way to build your knowledge alongside your lessons. Once you've got the basics down, this becomes the perfect light wind backup to kiteboarding. 12 knots on the beach? No problem. Grab your wing and go fly with the seagulls. Flaring gives you a sense of freedom and flow that's hard to describe until you feel it. So if you're curious, head to Flare's website, find a certified partner school and take that first step. You already know the wind. Now it's time to learn how to fly it. Cheers!